What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including WWE's original plans for Raw this week, Mark Henry calls out Ryback to apologize, news on Drew McIntyre's return, the real reason behind Daniel Bryan's losing streak, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story looks at the original plans for Raw. Last week's Triple H vs Randy Orton main event match on Raw ended with a fiery finish when Triple H's sledgehammer went up in flames, but before he could clobber Randy Orton with it, Alexa Bliss showed up to throw a fireball at Randy Orton. As fans know, Drew McIntyre was originally set to wrestle Orton in a non-title match, but that is until he tested positive for COVID-19. So what would have happened if Drew wrestled a Viper as planned? According to Fightful Select, the finish would have been much the same. WWE's finish for Monday Night Raw was planned whether or not Triple H was involved, according to sources. Drew McIntyre was planned for the episode of Raw before contracting coronavirus and was set to face Randy Orton. However, we've been told that the Alexa Bliss fireball finish was the plan all along, regardless if it was Triple H or Drew McIntyre. WWE had planned for McIntyre to be there through this weekend when he tested positive. Also, for those wondering, the fire was not computer generated, just heavily edited. A fiery finish to be certain, and one Orton seemed destined for, so the WWE can set up a rematch between The Fiend and the Legend Killer at the Royal Rumble. Next up, Fastlane PPV has been confirmed. Speaking of pay-per-views, the WWE has confirmed it's bringing back its Fastlane pay-per-view. According to PW Insider, the WWE is Fastlane scheduled for 21st March. And you may recall the WWE's last Fastlane pay-per-view was held in 2019, and here are the dates for the upcoming pay-per-views. The Royal Rumble 31st January, NXT TakeOver 14th February, Elimination Chamber 21st February, Fastlane 21st March, and WrestleMania 37 10th and 11th April. It looks like the WWE will have plenty of pay-per-views to build up to this year's two-night showcase of the Immortals. But is Fastlane needed? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, how many WrestleMania tickets will be available? The WWE recently announced that WrestleMania 37 will take place with fans this year at Tampa, Florida's Raymond James Stadium, but how many seats will be available for the two-night event? While the WWE said that it'll make an announcement on tickets soon, Dave Meltzer speculated on the situation during an episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio, using the NFL team the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a reference. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have been selling about 14,000 tickets to Raymond James Stadium for home games. Obviously, as we all know, Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he's bought and paid for essentially, so they're going to be able to do whatever they want to do. I presume this will be their big thing of the first WWE show with fans. Meltzer's bought and paid for comment of course refers to some individuals' belief that DeSantis classified wrestling as an essential service during the pandemic due to Linda McMahon sending political donations to the state of Florida. Next up, the real reason behind Daniel Bryan's losing streak. Recently, we discussed how Daniel Bryan put over Cesaro on the 15th January SmackDown in a classic match that had fans and wrestlers including Kurt Angle raving. The Swiss Superman isn't the only wrestler Daniel Bryan has put over recently, as he's put over Shinsuke Nakamura and Jey Uso too. Some fans are asking why the main event star is losing so much and whether Bryan has heat with management. According to recent reports, nothing could be further from the truth, as Bryan wants to help other talent get over. Now, if you've been following our news reports, you know that Bryan works with the Blue Brand's creative team, and as he sees his career winding down, he wants to give back. Ringside News recently tweeted, "We've been asked about this, so we asked around. Daniel Bryan losing so often is his call. It's not a burial. Bryan is on the writing team, and the losing streak is his idea. He wants to elevate talent, and he cares about making superstars on SmackDown. What a novel concept." As noted in an earlier video, this is a generous gesture by Bryan, but does the WWE need to balance his wins and losses, or could he be seen as a has-been with wins over him meaning far less than they should? Next up, when Drew McIntyre is returning. Good news for fans of WWE Champion Drew McIntyre, as Dave Meltzer recently revealed on the Wrestling Observer that Drew is scheduled to appear on the 25th January edition of Raw, just before the Rumble. McIntyre, who tested positive for the coronavirus, reports he has experienced no symptoms of the disease, but he is quarantining per medical guidelines. If he is back on 25th January, that would presumably allow him to defend the WWE title against Bill Goldberg at the Royal Rumble as originally planned. Next up, an Impact star says Impact was lazy. Wrestlers are sometimes buried when they leave a promotion, but former Impact Wrestling star Ethan Page can't believe the way Impact sent him on his way, and it's hard to kill pay-per-view. During the show, Page battled his alter ego Karate Man in a cinematic match, with Karate Man defeating him by ripping his heart out. Is Page upset that he did the JOB to himself? Well, no, he's disgusted with the way Impact produced the match, telling his fans via social media, "I'm so embarrassed with how Impact lazily edited that segment last night and forced it to be a joke. I felt the thought of the same guys fighting each other was a comedy enough, and the more serious we took it, the better the reaction would be. Because I left the company, they lied to my face and just did what they wanted the whole time." Page even apologized to the fans, saying, "I'm sorry if any of my fans paid for that pay-per-view and felt cheated. I honestly feel that the free version I gave away was made with more love, care and attention to detail. Sadly, I have no control over the creative or final product, and the editor refused to send it to me beforehand, so I saw it live with you guys and was surrounded by family," all scratching their heads at the high school project level delivery on the pay-per-view. What did you guys think of the segment? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Mark Henry says Ryback owes wrestling an apology. Former WWE superstar Ryback has often been critical about his time in the WWE, and now former WWE superstar Mark Henry is demanding Ryback apologize to the wrestling industry as a whole, or else. During an episode of Busted Open Radio, the world's strongest man discussed his time in the ring with Ryback and said that while he heard other wrestlers complain that Ryback was dangerous in the ring, he never had problem with Ryback's ring work. However, Henry does have a problem with his repeated complaints about how he was treated in the WWE and that he didn't receive the push he deserved. Henry discussed how wrestling is a work and no wrestler actually wins a championship. It's put on a wrestler who has shown they can do more with the belt in terms of selling tickets. Henry didn't hold back, telling Ryback, "You owe the wrestling industry an apology. If you don't, I think that pro wrestlers all over the world should never give you respect. When they see you, they should walk in front of you. They should stand in line in front of you and force you to fight them. I have zero respect for you. I said it before. I've never had a problem in ring with Ryback, but I know how difficult he can be." Henry continued trashing Ryback, explaining why Ryback never went as far as he thought he should have in the WWE. It's about earning your way to the top to where the company sees you as a viable commodity, and can we sell tickets? Can we put asses in the seats with this guy? They obviously thought no with Ryback, and he's bitter about it. He's wrong and he owes the wrestling industry an apology, and if he doesn't get it, wrestlers all over the world should shit on him for the rest of his existence. Rest assured, Ryback will have something to say about both Henry and the WWE in general. What do you think of Mark Henry's comment? And finally, a WWE superstar donates his hair. Last but not least, WWE superstar Samoa Joe may be a legitimate badass, but he's a generous one as well. Recently, the Samoan submission machine donated his long ponytail to the charity Children with Hair Loss. Joe has been out of the ring since a rash of injuries, but he's carved out a new niche on Raw as its color commentator, impressing fans as well as himself with his performance. Now, Joe hasn't hung up his boots just yet and plans on returning to the ring at some point. During an appearance on the Wild On podcast, he commented, "Right now I'm enjoying commentary on Raw. It's been a fun challenge. Obviously, I'm not done in the ring by no means." But there you have it guys, the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.